What up, guys, and welcome back to Thomas Reacts here on the 360 experience with myself, Thomas Mabaso. You know, if there's one person who has been relentless when it comes to holding President Cyril Ramaphosa accountable when it comes to PHALA, it has to be Vuyolwethu Zungila, the leader of African Transformation Movement. I mean, guys, this person, we really have to applaud him for the work that he has done, for actually exposing the president. Despite what everyone said, this guy and African Transformation Movement have been relentless in terms of exposing what really took place and exposing the president and exposing the system that is actually protecting the president. So today, guys, I have an interview that I want us to watch. It is an interview from SABC Unfiltered, where Vuyolwethu Zungila, the leader of African Transformation Movement, went to SABC to talk with Mpofu Walsh. I mean, guys, it is a very interesting interview because they are talking about 2024 election, they are talking about PHALA, and they are talking about religion and politics. So, guys, I hope that you are going to stay with me. And now let's hear what Vuyolwethu Zungila and African Transformation Movement has for us.
Welcome back to Unfiltered. Mr. Zungila, thank you for joining us on Unfiltered.
Thank you so much.
PHALA has been an issue which has really been at the center of your program in Parliament. Last week, of course, we had the SARB statement on the PHALA report. You've come out and said it's bizarre that you vehemently reject that statement. Why do you say that?
Look, when we start talking about PHALA and our role in Parliament, I think it's wise that we inform the people that we've championed a lot of issues surrounding accountability. But because this particular case is about the president, that is why it has received a lot of media attention. Now, on the question of the Reserve Bank, the mandate of the Reserve Bank was to determine whether the close cooperation of Mr. Ramaphosa, number one, was legally entitled to receive foreign currency. Number two, whether the foreign currency that was in that PHALA farm was kept within, the law was followed in terms of receiving it, and it was reported within the 30-day limit. Now, they did not answer those questions. They spoke about a perfected transaction, whereas their mandate or their question was not whether the transaction is perfected. And it is very bizarre that you've got a problem of money laundering, and the Reserve Bank, which should be trusted to safeguard our country's monetary policy, issues a statement that that a person that is sober, when they read that statement, does not give an impression that they are serious about fighting money laundering.
And the Reserve Bank.
And guys, but we really have to be honest, the story of PHALA, it's crazy, guys. That story is crazy because if you remember, there was a burglary that took place at the president's farm, and a lot of money was stolen there. And the president was asked about this money, that, President, where did this money come from? And the president said, it is my money, because that money comes from a Sudanese billionaire, Hazem Mustafa, who happened to buy 20 buffaloes for me. You understand? And the South African Revenue Services even attested to that. But today, the South African Reserve Bank says there was no perfected transaction between President Cyril Ramaphosa and Hazem Mustafa, and even said that the 20 buffaloes that were supposedly bought were never actually delivered. So the question comes like, who is the owner of that money? And what the hell is that money doing there? Because now the president cannot claim that money. He cannot. The president cannot claim this money as his because they said there was no perfected transaction between him and Mustafa. So Mustafa just came along just to drop the money and leave. Guys, what really happened there in PHALA? What happened?
Bank has made the statement, as you've said, about a perfected transaction. Do you have any dispute with that? I mean, the Reserve Bank says they don't have any evidence that it was perfected. Maybe they're right about that. Do you have evidence to the contrary? What do you take issue with in terms of that finding?
Look, what is known that there is this buyer that got into the country on 26th December, went straight to PHALA farm on the 26th of December. Now, early February in 2020, money was stolen in the president's farm. So if you look at those days, it is more than 30 days, whether it is working days or however you look at it. The second issue there is that Mr. Ramaphosa on numerous occasions has stated that this is this is the money that was stolen was a result of a legitimate business transaction. And when SARS is saying that that close cooperation is tax compliant, one would presume that it is because that money that was there was declared to SARS. Therefore, it cannot be that you've got two institutions. SARS on one side is not talking anything about an imperfect or a transaction that was not perfected. However, you've got now the Reserve Bank saying something that is contrary to SARS, whereas it is the same institutions ought to be interpreting the very same laws on the same transaction. So in our view as the ATM, that report is nothing but a whitewash to protect Mr. Ramaphosa from being held accountable. And it is something that we must not accept, because the presidents or political players, they come and go, but a country must be safeguarded by its institutions. An institution ought to work according to its mandate, not to bend their rules depending on who is the president and how much that president yields political power in our country.
Various parties have said they want to challenge this particular SARB statement. I believe the EFF has said that they want to take it on review. The UDM has called for a disclosure to the public. Do you support those moves, and will you be supporting them in court?
We are in discussion as a...
And guys, why didn't the Reserve Bank release the whole report? Because they only said that they are releasing partly the information there. Why don't they want to release the whole report? If they really want to exonerate the president, they must release the whole report, guys. If they want the South Africans to believe that the president had nothing to do, if the president is innocent, they must release the whole report. Why is the South African Reserve Bank not releasing the whole report? Why? What is it? What are they hiding there? What are they hiding? And like I previously said, because this whole thing it's crazy, because in 2024 it's an election, guys. And if the South African Reserve Bank doesn't want to release a whole report on their investigation on the president, isn't this election interference? Are they not interfering with the elections? Are they trying to protect Cyril Ramaphosa for 2024? That is the question. Because I feel like they are interfering with the elections, because I feel like people need to make informed decisions. People need to know what kind of a president occupying the union building. People need to know that. But if you are not going to release the whole report, then how are we going to know who are we sending there to union building? It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense, and it feels like it's an election interference. Honestly, guys, it feels like an election interference. I'm telling you guys, the whole report needs to be released to the public, so that the public can read it, can debate about it. But if you are only going to release like what, the 3 lines telling us that there was no perfected transaction between the president and Mustafa, and the buffaloes were never even delivered, and you are not even sure that the laws were broken.
The party to support in court, we do.
I mean, that statement serves nothing for us. It serves nothing. And thanks to guys like Vuyolwethu Zungila, man. You know, Ramaphosa, man, if there's one thing that is going to if there's one issue that is going to take Ramaphosa out of presidency, it has to be PHALA, man. It has to be PHALA, man. The ANC can only protect you for so long. Jacob Zuma is there. If you don't believe, ask Jacob Zuma, man. The ANC can only protect you for so long. But there's gonna come a time where the party feels like, no, bruh, we have to kick you out. I'm telling you. He's been protected, but for how long? For how long? He's not even going to be the president forever, man.
Support the issue of transparency, because we need to give confidence to the people that our institutions are doing what is required by the law, because this sets a dangerous precedent. Because if you talk about the question of money laundering, people will not abide by the law when they want to launder money. Therefore, you can't have a Reserve Bank as an institution that ought to be trusted when they increase the repo rates, that they are doing it in the best interest of the country. Now, issuing a report when you see has got nothing about the best interest of the country on the question of transparency, on the question of fighting money laundering. So it is in that context as the ATM, we feel that citizens must actually take also this fight up, because they must not rely only on political parties, because this is not a fight between the powers that be and political parties, because the citizens themselves are the ones that bear the brunt of these institutions when they go rogue. For example, there's a person from Thohoyandou who got arrested because they had more than 300,000 rands in cash. Now, how can you have such a case, whereas Mr. Ramaphosa has so much money, foreign currency, undeclared in his farm, but nothing happens? So we can't live Sizwe in a country whereby the rule of law is dependent on who is the perpetrator. We need to live in a country whereby there's equality before the law, because if there's no equality before the law, then most people are going to reject some of the court judgments. And when you got our law, our justice system not being respected and adhered to, then you are not going to have a functional state.
I suppose the question of PHALA, as you say, has been central to your strategy in Parliament, and the Reserve Bank is the most recent, but it's not the only question in which you're involved, both in Parliament and in the courts. There's also the Public Protector's report, which you have come out and said you will be challenging in the High Court. Where are we with that process, and do you have any clarity on when that attempt to review that report will be heard?
We've submitted.
Are you also guys feeling like the media is protecting Ramaphosa? Are you feeling like the media is protecting Ramaphosa? Do you remember how crazy the media was during the Zuma Nkandla era? You remember how crazy the media was? Why isn't the media out there printing out all of these things, guys? Why are they out there making sure that people understand what's happening? Why are they protecting Ramaphosa, man? Why? Why? And why doesn't the president want to be held accountable, man? What's wrong with being held accountable? Or is he scared of step aside, the same step aside that he endorsed? He's scared of it now. He's scared of it now, so he's just going to run away from accountability, because he knows that if he accounts it, the ANC is going to put him aside with the same rule that he endorsed. Guys, it makes no absolute sense.
Our founding affidavit from our side, we know that the lawyers of the Public Protector's Office have also reached out. We're still in the dark as to the timelines, but the issues that we have there with that particular report is that the Constitution is very clear regarding paid work. Now, the definition of paid work is a person that puts his mental effort in terms of devoting his time and his mental capabilities on making sure that a particular business does grow, does make profit. Now, the acting public protector deliberately misunderstands that provision and says a person needs to be physically somewhere. And it is something that is nonsensical, because we live in a time of COVID. A person can stay at Johannesburg but work for a company that is in Cape Town. So that is the first issue. The second issue is that the acting public protector speaks about financial interest to say the president has got financial interest, just like a person who has got shares in a company. But a person that has got shares in a company does not take part in operational decisions, whereas there's evidence that Mr. Ramaphosa took part in operational decisions, even decisions pertaining to that particular transaction, even decisions as to operational decisions as to what must happen since that money was stolen. It's unlike a person that is a shareholder, does not know any of the operational decisions. They only take part at a board level. So that is what we have issues with when it comes to the acting public protector's report. And also the other issue that people do not want to talk about is the fact that Advocate Galega had incentives of protecting Mr. Ramaphosa.
What?
The incentive there is that it is Mr. Ramaphosa's party, which is the ANC, that has got the majority to appoint her as public protector. Hence today, that ANC in Parliament, in that committee, has actually nominated her, meaning it was a case whereby I scratch your back, you scratch mine, in the sense that Mr. Ramaphosa, now that he's left off the hook, has influenced his party, that the person that protected him gets to be appointed as a public protector.
Jeez. And the ANC talks about unity, guys. They talk about renewal. The ANC talks about renewal. So how are they going to renew themselves, guys? How is the ANC going to renew itself? Seriously, how is the ANC going to renew itself? And these guys, they talk about renewal. They talk about kicking out the rotten apples within the organization. But right now, it seems like the highest person, the head of the party, is the one doing the dirty work. And no one wants to hold him accountable. Yeah, guys, something needs to give, man. Something needs to give, guys. This whole story of PHALA is insane, man. It's insane. The president kicks out a public protector who was investigating him, only to take in the public protector, the public protector who's going to clear him of any wrongdoings. The public protector who is going to clear him of any wrongdoings. Even the acting public protector, she said that there was no conflict of interest there. She said that President Ramaphosa was not conflicted by that transaction there in PHALA. So even the public protector, the acting public protector, endorsed that transaction between the president and Mustafa. But now the South African Reserve Bank says there was no perfect transaction. What is happening, guys? What is happening?
I hear all of that, and I think the ATM has certainly put up a spirited fight. But on the other hand, so far, I mean, we're a year into this scandal saga that broke in June of last year, and we don't seem to be any closer to accountability. Do you think the ATM has failed in its efforts to hold the president accountable, energetic as you have been?
Look, we've not failed. The fact that you're going to have members of parliament from the ANC voting against a report that is saying there's a case to answer. And that report, by the way, there's no one that has reviewed it, meaning its contents. There's no one that actually sees anything wrong with those contents and the recommendations of those reports. The fact that, for example, the Reserve Bank and the acting public protector's reports are being challenged, it means parties are speaking in the same voice and saying that there must be accountability. So if you were to look at the two natures of the reports, the ones that says Mr. Ramaphosa has got a case to answer, that report still stands and no one has challenged it. The ones that exonerate Mr. Ramaphosa, all of those reports are up for legal scrutiny, and we are not going to rest up until this matter is pursued, because in our quest for accountability, it is because we know that through accountability we get justice. And once we live in a just society, then we are going to live in peace. But if we do not live in a just society, then people are going to rise against the state, and that is something we don't want.
What about the question of the public protector? We know that the Section 194 process has issued a report. A group of opposition parties have issued a statement saying that they reject that report. It's always good to have a member of parliament who understands the processes here. In terms of timelines, are you aware that the programming committee has set a date for that National Assembly discussion on the report of this ad hoc committee?
The programming committee should be sitting this week. Parliament only recently opened today, so it should be part of the agenda maybe this week or the next week. But it is something that if you just read the mood of the ANC, one gets the feeling that the ANC basically wants to send a strong message that if you as a person in our country, as a state official, do what it is required by the constitution and you hold ANC leaders accountable, this is how the ANC is going to respond to you. They are going to go as far as wanting to take away your pension, because they want to have a state whereby people must always rule in the best interest of the ANC. So that is something that we don't agree with as the ATM. So we're going to continue defending Advocate Mkhwebane, because the records are very clear regarding her work, regarding the amount of cases she's taken over, the amount of cases she's won, and the fact that it is not a new thing that people lose cases in court when it comes to the office of the public protector. The previous public protector lost cases. Also, the question of judges also have their reports or judgments overturned by higher courts. So the issue with Advocate Mkhwebane stem from her recommendations on the Reserve Bank and the CR17 bank statements and all of these other reports that she has actually done in line with what the law requires, but the ANC does not want any of those to be discussed.
Let's go to a break. We'll come back with some of those issues and other questions. The ATM has recently returned from its policy conference and will be exploring the offering that they're putting.
So guys, what do you think about that, man? Do you think that the president will actually be held accountable? And what is and what kind of accountability are we looking at? If we say that we want to hold the president accountable, what kind of accountability are we looking at? Because the last time when people wanted to hold someone accountable, they sent Jacob Zuma to jail for like few days and he was out. And people said that he served his sentence. People are saying that he served his sentence. So that was accountability. So is that sort of accountability that the ATM is looking for? But what kind of accountability are they looking for? Because I know even me, sometimes when I speak, I say that I want the president to be held accountable. But I never actually thought about what is it exactly that I want to happen to the president. Do I want him impeached? Do I want him kicked out of the office? What is it exactly that we want? I mean, like, if right now you want the President Ramaphosa to be kicked out of the office, who do you want to be the president of South Africa? Who would you prefer to be the president of South Africa in the meantime? Because we have to think about it. If you want to take Ramaphosa out, who would fit best as the president of South Africa in the meantime? So what kind of accountability, guys, are we looking at? Do we want the president to be kicked out and to be thrown into jail? Because I think if we want that, it is not going to happen. It is not going to happen. It is not going to happen. But me personally, I feel like Ramaphosa will never be held accountable, guys. I feel like we might as well. The guy will never be held accountable. As long as the ANC is in power, the Ramaphosa will never be held accountable. It's too powerful, man. He has proven that. So guys, please tell me what you think on the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button, and the most important part, guys, please subscribe. My name is Thomas Mabaso, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.